let's light the chalice together. The words are in your order of service. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together.
Let's begin to calm our hearts and calm our souls as we step into this place together. Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Low Country. My name is Charlie Tyler. I'm the pastoral minister here. It's my privilege to be able to be a part of this fabulous, caring, and compassionate group of people, and I want to make sure that each of you know how welcome you are here. These are the days where, as John was playing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, many of us in this room are still trying to peek over that rainbow and find that hope on the other side. Many of us are still struggling with the decisions that have been made in our country over the last several days. And for that reason, I also want to remind those of you who are in this room, either for the 25th year or the second time, that this is a safe place. That we gather our hearts here together, we gather our place here, that we might be able to share our hearts and share our wounds and share our joys and share our concerns. And so I'd ask that we be able to set that in our own hearts and in our own minds as we move forward, especially those of you who are guests and visitors here today. These are unusual times which require unusual care and compassion. And I want you to know that you have found it here. Thank you for being here. I am going to ask, if you're willing, to stand and give your name and address. No, stand and give your name. Social Security number, driver's license, just so we may know that you're here where you're from, because there's others who are probably from there too. What I would like to do is ask those who might be first or second time visitors that are on my far right, your left, if you would be willing to stand and just give us your name. Yes, ma'am.
Sarah Baird.
Welcome. Good to have you, Sarah. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Tracy Hancock, and I've been in the area for about 10 years. Hilton Head and now Sun City, originally from Rochester, New York, and I'm looking forward to learning more about the community.
Thank you. Any other first-timers that would like to stand? In the center section, are there first or second-time visitors? And on my far left, right. Yes, ma'am, thank you.
I'm Caitlin, and this is my son Reed, and we're very excited to be here. This is our first time. We're living in Mayo, Boston.
Very nice. Welcome. Did I miss anybody? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Lisa Ring, and I live in Wellstone here in Lupton. I have 4 adult children, and my youngest just went away to college, so it's just me and my cat Lamar. And I'm looking for a community, especially after this election.
Anybody else that's been missed? Those of you who are here, oh good, they keep coming.
I keep coming. I frequent here quite often. I have my mom with me who is shy and wants to Minnesota.
Welcome. Glad you voted. All of you are here. This is that place where the universe has conspired to bring you to where your heart may find a little bit of healing, and where your spirit may find a little bit of courage, and where your hope may grow just a little bit more. Thank you for being here and for trusting us in this time. Some other announcements that I want to bring to your attention. I feel certain I'm going to forget something, but please draw my attention back to it. We had a fabulous time here this past Friday night, Music on Malthus. A very talented woman who was playing for us. Let's see, where's Joanne? Her name again, please? Tret Furyk. It was really a fabulous time. And for those of you who don't know, Joanne is pretty much responsible for bringing the people here for Music on Malthus, and I want to thank you for that. And also, while I'm looking at you, to acknowledge that this is the 22nd anniversary of a birthday of Santa. So congratulations.
To you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday dear Joanne, happy birthday to you.
You knew it was coming. Do you have an announcement? Yes, if you would, please.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Kathleen from the Membership Committee, and this is just an advance that we're going to have our holiday meal, but this year it's going to be on a Wednesday night, December 11th. Now, we don't have the sign-up yet, but the idea is you bring your favorite holiday dish, whether it's an appetizer, a dinner item, or a dessert. But it's on a Wednesday. We've never had it on, well, in my knowledge, we haven't had it on a Wednesday. So you might be surprised and forget it. So I want you to remember that and mark it on your calendar, Wednesday, December 11th.
At what time?
Well, it's going to be dinner time. I don't know. 6 o'clock. I'll make it up right now. We're going to gather together in community and have a community dinner, another place to come to meet people, be with your friends, find some new friends. So please make sure you mark it on your calendar.
Thank you. And speaking of some of those events, Anne, would you mind acknowledging the Path to Belonging that will be coming up in January?
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you.
Yes, we have Charlie Tyler, our minister, and I, Ann Harrison, our faith development director, have a program here called the Path to Belonging. If there's anybody here who is new, it's a series of 3 consecutive Sundays, and we talk about Unitarian Universalism, and we talk about this congregation and where it all started and how we got to be where we are today. Gives you some history, and it's a time to learn about us and who we are, so that you can make an educated decision about whether or not you'd like to become a member. So we've been doing it for a couple years now, and our next session will be in January, and it will be the last 3 Sundays of the month in January. So if anybody's interested, you can mark that on your calendar. And while I'm up here, I'm going to say that some of the kids from the Sunday school have been talking since over the last couple of months about wanting to have a little fundraiser for the church. So next Sunday, after the service, during the coffee hour, some of our older kids are going to be in the lobby, in the foyer, with some things to sell. So we have one young lady, Jalen, who makes jewelry. She'll have some of her jewelry for sale. Alessandra loves to bake. She'll have some of her homemade cupcakes, and she makes a beautiful loaf of bread. She'll have some bread, some sourdough bread. And Lilia will have some of her artwork for sale. And half the money will go to them, and half the money will go to the church. Yeah.
And those Path to Belonging programs will start at 12:30.
Oh, yes.
On those 3 Sundays. Bring a bag lunch if you like, but there'll be an informal time for us to get together. Yes, Ann.
Yeah, that's true. That's what we do, is we meet after the talk back. So it does make for a little bit of a long day, but if you bring your lunch, that's how we start. And I also wanted to throw in that the transitions workshop that we're doing is occurring today after the talk back. So for those of you that are in it, today's the day.
Thank you. You'll see in your bulletins that Saturday, December the 7th, Laura Herskovich will be here for our music on Malthus. If none of you have ever been here for that, you're going to want to take part of this. This is going to be on that Saturday, and she brings a modern American folk music style, and we're looking very much forward to seeing her and hearing her. And if you look in your bulletins, you'll see that her website is there in front of you, and so please take the time to go sort of sample some of her music and see what it would sound like and whether you want to be a part of that. I've been handed this note too, that the care committee will meet in the Claire Barton room next Sunday, the 17th. That's the large sort of semi-conference room that's off to my right, the left side of the building. This will be immediately after the service. So care committee meets at the Claire Barton room next Sunday, the 17th, immediately after the service. Today is the day before Veterans Day, and it seems appropriate to me to draw our attention to that for just a moment. I went to the UU website looking for some assistance on how to speak to this, and I found this, and I wanted to share it with you today, plus some things that I have added to it. Today we recognize the great service and sacrifice some have been asked to make, living through the horror that is war, facing death or physical harm as a specter looming around every corner. We say thank you and know it will never be enough. Help us to embrace those who have been sent forth in our names into danger. Give us the strength of will to serve them as they served us. And may those who have brought wounds to others find healing of those wounds. May they never hunger, may they never thirst. May there always be meaningful work for their hands. May they receive healing care in abundance. And may we, the grateful heirs of a nation built on the idea of liberty, be faithful to pursuing that dream in our own lives and actions. Help us to be vigilant and never complacent, that each one of us take personally this charge. May it be so, and may it be so. And for those of you who are veterans and have served in your armed forces, just for a second, I'm going to ask you to stand, if you would, please. my joy and my privilege and my honor to be a friend of Dick and Molly Hood. Dick will be bringing the message here in just a few moments, but I want to be able to pause for just a moment and thank him for being a part of this sanctuary, part of this community, because he does bring his gifts and his skills in unique and special ways. And so, Dick Hood, if you would please, your opening words.
Good morning.
Morning.
Before I begin, I have a special message for just one person in the sanctuary. The lady from Rochester, the young lady from Rochester. Only good people come from Rochester. Starting with my wife, born, raised, bred, Rochester through and through. We're making a couple of tweaks this morning that I just did want to make you aware of. We're going to change talkback just a little bit. For those of you who are not familiar, we reassemble, if you wish, in the sanctuary after coffee hour, and we have a session where open microphone, anyone can say anything they like, and usually the expectation is that it's going to be about the sermon, that we're going to talk about the sermon, and you know, if you didn't like it, they probably don't come. If you like it, whatever. We're going to change that a little bit and really have an open microphone this morning for people who still may wish to reflect, as many of us do, on the events that happened this week. So you do not, please come to talkback, but you don't have to talk about the sermon if there are other things more pressing on your mind. In lieu of that, we have joys and concerns in this almost every worship service that we have, and it's a special part of the service. And we're asking today that you do not bring forth your joys and concerns about what happened on Tuesday, that you wait and come to talkback, where we will be very avid listeners, so that joys and concerns remains a part of health, family, those types of issues, just for this one Sunday. In light of Tuesday, there's been a lot of talk about the future. And I thought I'd start this morning with 3 or 4 quotes about the future. Maybe that you can pick one out that might have meaning to you, and you can dismiss the other 3, but just to pique your thinking a little bit about the future. First one's very simple. The future belongs to those who prepare for it today. You can hear it coming. David Bowie. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Eleanor Roosevelt. And finally, and I will buy 12 donuts to anyone who can tell me who said this quote. Pick the day. Enjoy it to the hilt. The day as it comes, people as they come. The past, I think, has helped me appreciate the present. And I don't want to spoil any of it by fretting all the time about the future. Anybody have a guess?
Mark Twain.
Pardon? Mark Twain? Good guess, but no, you owe me 12 donuts. Oh, wait a minute, I didn't tell you about that. Interestingly enough, Audrey Hepburn. You never would have guessed. I was safe. I am too cheap to buy anybody a dozen donuts. Welcome. This is a pleasant place to be, hopefully. And do join us for Talkback if you have concerns at all. We will be a comforting and attentive audience listening to people. And if you would, stand as you are willing and able, and we'll sing hymn number 347, Gather the Spirit.
On behalf of Sandalwood Food Bank and Bluffton Self-Help, thank you very much for the donations you make of non-perishable food items to leave in the back of the sanctuary. It's a weekly project, and we appreciate that continues. And the offering is a sacrament of the church. It's supported by the voluntary generosity of all who join with us, and the offering will now be given and received in grateful appreciation of our shared hopes and values. Thank you for your generosity.
This is the time that we share our joys and concerns. If you wish to share a joy, we wish to be happy with you. And if you have a concern to share, we really want to comfort you because we are a community and we really need each other. So if you have something to say, come forward, take a stone from the basket, tell us who you are and what you want to share, no announcements, and then put your stone in the cairn.
I'm Betsy, and I want to share a concern from our care committee. Edie Long Henry has not been here for 6-7 weeks, and during that time she has fallen 3 times, and she has hit her head 3 times. So she is at home healing from a concussion, and she has a physical therapist who comes in and helps her with balance. Let's all just send her our love. Thank you. And Jan, I'm so glad to see you.
Betsy, we didn't hear the name clearly.
What did you say?
We didn't hear the name clearly.
Edie Long Henry.
Thank you.
Sorry.
My name is Jan Weston, and my husband Jim has been, trying to recover, sort of. He doesn't work very hard at it, unfortunately. But he fell in March and broke his hip, and it has been a long struggle. He's not doing well now. But this is kind of a concern that I hope turns into a joy, because he is going to have a blood transfusion on Monday. They have discovered he's terribly anemic, and because of that, I can understand why he won't do his lumen exercises. But if he gets to feeling stronger, perhaps that will help, and he will be able to recover. So keep him in your thoughts on Monday. I hope it has the result that I am wishing for.
Good morning, I'm Clay, and I want to share with you an unadulterated joy. Our daughter has a new, not black, brown Labrador named Harley, of all things. She's female, and we get daily pictures of this 2-month-old Labrador getting cuddled by her that are just absolutely precious.
Hi, I'm Linda, and 2 weeks ago I asked you to please keep my husband in your thoughts. We went up to Charleston and we got our first ray of hope in a few months. We're going back up to Charleston again this week for a couple of days of tests. He had another setback this week, but if you keep him in your thoughts, I would greatly appreciate it. And maybe a little bit for me, because I'm getting kind of tired. Thank you.
Hello again, this is Kathleen here. This is definitely a joy. Our daughter and her husband asked us not to get toys and junk for Christmas gifts. And, this is hard for this grandmother who loves to shop for toys. However, they asked, could we do an activity or a family gathering instead? So, the kids in that family are 4 and 7. So this morning, I booked a overnight in a water park in Maryland. Now, it costs more than the toys that I had bought. And I read the reviews and it said, adults bring earplugs and Tylenol. But it says kids love this place. And so I want to just give my daughter and son-in-law a shout out, because they said, we have enough toys. We want to spend time with you. So that's my joy.
Good morning. My name is Patricia. I'm a long-term member here, and I don't often get up here and talk about joys and concerns, but this, Clay, you inspired me. I was already thinking about it, but as an animal person. I've had many animals in my life, and I lost my last one, not literally lost, but he died. And I waited 5 months to decide what I want to do. And this weekend, I went to Palmetto Animal League, and I got 2 young cats, brought them home, and obviously that's my joy. My concern is that they won't tear my house apart. I'm gonna love them still, so, thanks.
My name's Diane, and 2 weeks ago I became a grandmother. And just here to let you know that little baby David has, he was premature by quite a bit, but he has put on a pound in the past 2 weeks, and he might be coming home soon. So.
Well, I wasn't going to share anything, but then I saw a person walk in that back door. Mary, would you stand? It's so joyful to see you here. It's been a long journey for you and a big challenge, but you're back where you belong, darling.
It's hard to get going.
Oh, you're late because you wanted to make, this is it, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to place 2 stones in the cairn for joys and concerns that you keep in your heart. I'm taking another stone to honor all the children whose lives have been lost to gunfire. Good grief, I'm sorry. We will keep them in our hearts and their families as well. We also have a stone for you if you like to take to remind you constantly of these children. Now, if you turn in your hymnal to 443, we'll read the affirmation. We arrive out of many single rooms. Walking over the branching streets, we come to be assured that brothers and sisters surround us to restore their images on our eyes. We enlarge our voices in kindness, speaking and singing. We try again the solitude found in the midst of those who seek the hidden reverence. Our eyes reclaim the remembered faces, the voices stir the surrounding air. The warmth of their hands assure us, and the gladness of our spoken names. This is the reason of cities, of homes, of assemblies in the houses of worship. It's good to be with one another.
So, how many of you are tired of hearing about the election? Would you raise your hands? A true majority. I'm tired of it too. And although I'm going to mention the election in passing, this is really a sermon much more about our religious faith. Our faith nationally and the Unitarian Universalist movement and internationally, but also right here in Bluffton. So bear with me if I do mention the election but this is not an election sermon. I will deny that during talkback. This is a very unusual time among Unitarian Universalists, and that's true in this congregation as well. I will say with a great deal of confidence that over 98% of people in this room voted one way on Tuesday. Now, I know I have to make 98% because you never know. There are free spirits that reign among us. It is a time in our history of unbelievable unity. Now, for you folks who perhaps are not Unitarian Universalists for a long time, let me tell you, there is nothing better than we UUs like than a good fight. And quite frankly, most of the fights that we have are with each other. Controversy is part of our DNA as Unitarian Universalists. And it's strange that we can say and come together that pretty much all of us on one occasion acted in a unified way. Our history, however, is filled with times of controversy. Slavery was controversial, believe it or not, particularly in the South in our movement. Women's ordination, pacifism during World War I and World War II, financial reparations in the civil rights movement, institutional racism. That's just a slight list of things that over the centuries we Unitarian Universalists have fought. We would gather in a circle, each with a rifle, and facing inward and shoot each other. That's an exaggeration, but you get the point, I hope, that we have really unified. Let me tell you a brief story about church controversy. I know there was a little controversy about something like what color we painted the foyer. Now, that passes. I love the foyer. In October of 1971, I had just graduated from seminary. I graduated in May, and I was very comfortable living with my wife of only 3 years. We had no children. It was a pretty comfortable time. And about the first or second week of October, I got a phone call from a woman, may she rest in peace. Her name was Wallace Detweiler. And I remember it because how many women do you know named Wallace? Not too many. And Wallace Detweiler explained that she was calling for a small Universalist church in a village halfway between Rochester and Buffalo, Albion, for those who are familiar with that. And that they had a little scheduling issue, and she would like it if I would come and preach on the coming Sunday. And she was very generously saying she would offer me $25, but no, we don't pay for mileage. So, okay, I came, and I don't remember exactly what I said, but I noticed a certain unease in the few people that were there, and there were not a great number. But they asked me back and said, "Whoa, you did such a good job. Why don't you come and preach for us next Sunday?" And it was only then that I started to learn that on the Sunday previous to my first coming, the minister had stood up in front of the congregation and quit. And, we laugh about it now, took half the congregation with him. And they marched out, leaving a church that was split. If you think we have controversy here, nah, that foyer looks damn beautiful. I first one to say. but we have a history of spending much too much time in controversy and in opposition to ourselves. And this is the first lesson I'm going to try and give you of the election. It is wonderful to be unified. And we are, I think, as unified perhaps as we will ever be. The second lesson. Charlie has used the term. He stole it from David and Sarah, I think, but I'm not sure. That we are a safe place. A safe place. And David and Sarah, when he starts talkback, takes the microphone and always uses that term, that we are a safe place. Charlie talked about that this morning in his opening remarks. On Wednesday, the day of the election, Charlie had very wisely, as pastoral minister, said that the church would be open from 10 to 12 and that he would bring donuts, which he did. 40 people came to talk about their feelings. And I'm sure many people will remember that time for a long time to come. Let me tell you what I'm going to remember about it. I was one of the first people to get here, and I happened to be standing in front of the door. I wasn't really a greeter of any kind. It just happened that that's where I was. Phyllis Baxter, I use this by permission, by the way, walked in and said to me, "Oh, I am so thankful that I have this place." Wow. Thank you, Phyllis. That meant a lot to me. In times of uncertainty, in times of trouble, in times that we're not sure of direction, in times we're angry, whatever emotion we might have, it's okay to come here because this is a safe place. This is a place where we do not make judgments about other people's emotions. This is a place where you can come and lay open your soul if you choose to do so, and others will care for you, comfort you, or do whatever is necessary to help you through that moment. You can say pretty much what you want. And you know what? Particularly within the last 4 or 5 years, there are not a lot of safe places. At least not in my environment. Of course, I live in Sun City, which right off the bat tells you the age issue. You've got to be 55 to be there. But it's not a safe place in that many people, myself included, do not feel comfortable raising certain issues with our neighbors. Because we don't. Is she a Trumper? I didn't use that word. I don't know what I should say about, X, Y, Z kinds of issues. Things that are important to me that I don't feel comfortable talking to other people about. I think that I reflect what many of you, maybe most of you, feel, that there are simply times now, never used to be that way, but there are times now that we just keep things to ourselves because we don't want to initiate a fight, we don't want to offend someone, we don't want to alienate a neighbor or a person with whom we have some contact. So we keep it quiet. This church, Charlie said it already, stole it from me. He didn't tell me he was going to mention this morning. This is a safe place. And this will continue to be a safe place. In fact, my hunch is in the next few years, this place is going to get even safer than it is now. How many places can you go where you are among friends, but also among strangers? I don't know all of you by a long shot, but you feel comfortable expressing how you really feel about today's issues and about moral concerns and consciousness. That's the second, if something good has happened, is our recommitment every Sunday and every talkback, and I hope you come to talkback this Sunday, that we are a safe, non-judgmental place. The poet Rumi, Persian Muslim in the 13th century, wrote these words, and they're in our hymn book as a chant. And I think they sum up that idea of safety. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, it doesn't matter. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Come, even if you have broken your vow. Come 1,000 times. Come yet again. Come, come. Final thought. Excuse me. We have a very long title in this organization, Low Country Unitarian Universalist. We have multi-syllable names. And that results from the fact that two separate religious organizations, albeit somewhat the same, merged in 1961 to form Unitarian Universalism. We very often use simply the term Unitarian to describe who we are. And that's because the Unitarians were by far the larger of the two groups that came together. And the Unitarians had more emphasis on big cities and big churches. The Universalists, much smaller movement, dying somewhat, so not completely, but much more, tend to be more rural in nature and smaller. However, today, we are all not just Unitarians, but Universalists. We are all Universalists because Universalists started with the idea that God was so loving that he would send no one to hell permanently. And in fact, that morphed over the years to hell doesn't even really exist, that you pay for what you get here on earth, but that God was a loving God and God was inclusive. There was no separation from saved and unsaved. There's no separation by race, color, gender, whatever. God loves everybody. That was the message, and still is the message of Universalism. God loves all. All are imperfect, but all are loved anyway. What that resulted, that little kernel of what they thought was biblical truth, was an emphasis in the Universalist side of the equation on world affairs. That it's not simply good enough as a religious denomination to talk about what's going on in the United States. That our efforts need to be universal in nature. Climate change, starvation, women and children's rights. Thank you. I'm getting applauded in the back. Oh, I'll take that anytime. Yeah, right. You don't see that. But thank you. That the Universalists had a world view, and we're very proud of that world view. The election, I promised I wouldn't mention it much, but the election was so clear that one candidate talked almost exclusively about things within the 50 states. Immigration being the one prime one, the alleged crime activity, all those things. One nation, focusing on one country. Us, remember, we're the great unity here. The 98% of us talked about world concerns, talked about things that didn't know any nation's boundaries. And if we take a message away from that, yeah, we're all Unitarians, but we're all Universalists too. And in fact, perhaps we need to start using that term more to describe who we are. Because national boundaries, while important, should not be the focus of religious faith. Universalists are we. There's much more to digest and much more to comprehend, and I'm sure there are other things that I could figure out to talk about how the election in some way has highlighted the uniqueness of who we are. But I would only close by saying this. Rather than walk with a head bowed, I suggest that this is the time to stand, and to stand proudly, because we are Universalists. We are different, we can make a difference, and we do make a difference. Thank you. Rise as you're willing and able. We're going to sing We'll Build a Land, verses 1 and 4.
Dick, thank you so much for drawing our attention and our hearts to the center of who we are, in the center of what we're about. And we continue to be building those bridges and building those lands. If you have not been encouraged to stay for Talkback by now, you should be. The other thing that I really want to say is, while this indeed is a safe place, this is one of the ways our Talkback is for you who are our guests see who we are together with each other. And that would be one of the things I would encourage you to stay for, just to experience. And for the guests that were here today, thank you. I'm going to, hopefully I have all of your names here in front of me. Sarah and Tracy Hancock, Caitlin and son Reed, Lisa, Ring, Jessica, and Mom. And if I've missed anybody, my deepest apologies. And we would continue to celebrate our time together, and I hope that we're able to continue to meet together. If we would, please, let's, Dick, if you would, finally.
Closing words were written sometime in the early 1900s by a minister who was pretty obscure, but he's remembered, I guess, for this quote. His name was Henry Clay Bedard. The mission of Universalists has been a double one. First, to controvert the one-time prevalent idea of an endless hell. That part of the mission has practically been accomplished. But the second and more important one awaits fulfillment, a fight which shall continue until the real, actual hells before our very eyes are destroyed.
Shall we stand together now and extinguish the chalice? While we extinguish this flame, we still carry in our hearts the light of truth, warmth of unity, and our commitment until we are together again.
Thank you.